Welcome back, everyone. We are live just east of Eau Claire, Wisconsin today, and we are pleased to talk with a young man who is active duty personnel, military personnel right now. And he's going to talk to us a little bit about his background prior going into active duty, and also what it is that he hopes to tell to young people as they consider a position of service to this nation. I want to give a few disclaimers up front. It's very important whenever we talk to military personnel that we do this. For those of you who are not aware, military operates nonpartisan, which means there is no political affiliation, no political support, no political consideration. We are mission focused, and that means that we don't enter politics into it. So today we will not be discussing anything political of nature at all, and we will make sure that we also give the disclaimer that Mr. Bradley that will be joining us is not speaking for the military, is not speaking for the Department of Defense, is not speaking for anyone other than himself today. So I think we've covered all the disclaimers, and we will go ahead and get started. He has just joined us, and we are going to work on adding him in. We are adding, and we'll be connecting in just a minute. Takes a few extra seconds when we're in such a rural space. And Mr. Bradley, thank you so much for joining us. Can you hear us? Maybe having a little bit of technical difficulty.
Oh.
Hello, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you guys great.
Great, wonderful. All right. Well, I have just introduced you a bit and given a number of disclaimers, given your official position right now. And so what I really was saying was that we're going to talk to you about you and your experiences, some of what you experienced when you were younger and what made you make the decision to serve today. And we will stay far, far away from anything possibly that could be misconstrued as political. We stay away from that space entirely. So if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today.
All right. Well, first off, I'll start by saying my name. My name is Blaine Bradley. I am currently a Petty Officer 3rd class in the United States Navy. And before I even joined the Navy, part of what got me interested in joining the Navy was that I was part of the United States Naval Sea Cadet Corps, which is basically, it's like an ROTC program for children from ages 10 to 18. I was part of that for 8 years, so obviously since I was 10 all the way till I graduated high school and decided to enlist in the Navy.
Yeah, it's one of the programs that we support the most in our family, and I really cannot say enough positive things about the Sea Cadet Corps. Most people have never heard of it. I will add one thing. I don't know if you're even aware, most people are not, but the Sea Cadet Corps is the only student service branch that is supported directly through Congress. And so it is an actual line item in the budget, and it is supported directly, which means that all the children who participate have government issue uniforms and participate in a variety of activities well beyond what we see in our junior ROTC programs. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience in Sea Cadets? You said 8 years. For someone who's never even heard of it, walk us through kind of how the rank structure works, how you get involved, what do you do on a daily basis, how often do you meet?
So, starting with the rank structure, it is the League Cadets. It's very slightly different, however, still very similar. But in the Naval Sea Cadet Corps, it is exactly the same as the Navy, all the way from E1 to E7. So you have recruit, senior apprentice, seaman, class 3rd class, 2nd class, 1st class, then chief.
And we've got a question. What age can children join? So I just want to take a quick minute to answer 10. Age 10 they can join. And that's, Mr. Bradley's talking about League Cadets, which is the first age group. That's 10 to 14, is that correct?
10 to 13, I believe.
Is it 10 to 13, and then Sea Cadets is 14 to 18.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the rank structure, and how often do you meet? And what do you do when you come together?
So that is actually something that varies a lot, division by division. In the program, I was part of 2 different divisions. Um, one division we would meet every other week, and then one division we would meet 1 weekend a month, so Saturday and Sunday. And the first division I was a part of was the Great Lakes Division. We had a air patrol boat, the Pride of Michigan, and we would regularly do different kind of tours on that all across the Great Lakes, and we would go scuba diving off that ship, and it was great. As part of the Wolverine Division, my second division, we would do various different training events, and we do all sorts of different things, participate in different events. So part of the things in Sea Cadets, there's different national and regional events, such as Flagship. We participate in that.
So on top of all of this, though, don't you go away for trainings during the summer?
Yes, and I've actually, having been in the Sea Cadets for 8 years, I have done a lot of those. As a League Cadet, there's League orientation, and similar fashion as a Sea Cadet, all Sea Cadets go to recruit training. As a matter of fact, one of the recruit training locations is at RTC. So that was a great experience. I had been there 3 times. 2 of those times were with the Sea Cadets.
And what do you do during recruit training? Now that you've been through basic, how similar are they?
It's very, very similar. Like, I can count on my hand the amount of things that I did in Navy boot camp that I wasn't exposed to as a Sea Cadet, and even that small, like it's 2. As a Sea Cadet, they don't go through the gas chamber, and there were a couple weapons things we didn't do, but that's literally everything else you get at the very least exposed to, and it's honestly great. Like, boot camp was easy for me because of it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, was that an easier transition for you than some others, given that you had all the Sea Cadet experience?
Definitely.
Yeah, so you knew what you were walking into.
Yep. So, yeah, and then anyways, after you do the basic trainings, you have the ability to go on to advanced trainings. And that's where it really starts to branch out, and there's all sorts of different things. I haven't done everything, but I've done quite a bit. A couple of my personal favorites that I've done is CERT, which is Community Emergency Response Team. Basically how to respond in the event of any type of natural disaster, search and rescue, all that stuff. I've done scuba diving. I've gone to sub school, which has really helped me on the career path that I've chosen to take for myself. And also I've done UCoin, which was challenging, but it's built me into who I am to be today, and it's shown me that, like, no matter what happens, you can always persevere and you can always make it through to the end, no matter what life throws at you.
What was challenging about it?
So UCoin stands for Urban Counterinsurgency. It takes place in Muscatatuck, Illinois, or used to, I should say.
And you were how old when you did this?
This was a little later on. I was 16 when I did this.
16, you're doing counter...
Yes, so Muscatatuck, Illinois, at Camp Atterbury, that's actually where they train special forces, like, before they go out and deploy. So I've gotten to do some pretty amazing things that, honestly, even to this day, I still can't really believe that I actually did. But
yeah, I think a lot of people would be very surprised. And I'll add to it, given that my daughter was in a similar program, there's also Cyber Patriot, which we will actually be having a guest on next week to discuss that. So this is cyber defense, which is one of the trainings you can do. They also have international training where they connect local United States battalions to groups that are in different countries. And so the question is, do we have battle stations? We actually have battalions in Sea Cadets. But the thing that's very, very interesting that I'll add as an adult, as a parent of a child in Sea Cadets, is that all of these trainings are subsidized. So the cost is extremely low. I think the international travel is 10 days and it costs $300. And some students also get an opportunity to go to the U.S. Naval Academy. That is also subsidized. It's actually subsidized completely, so it's a free training if you're accepted. So there's a lot that kids get to do. I find it interesting you said scuba diving. So were you trained in scuba diving within the Corps?
Yes.
How did you, I mean, how long did you spend doing it? Was like a 3-day quick? Was it 2 weeks?
So the entire training was it was a 12-day training, I think. So just under 2 weeks.
That's impressive.
I loved it. It's a very, very fun training. I did it up in Battle Creek, Michigan, and they have them in other locations in the country too. Like I think there's one also in Florida. I have a couple friends that went there. They loved it there too.
A little known fact: there's one in Hawaii, and if you can get yourself there, the training itself is free. But you have to cover the plane ticket.
Yeah, there you go. That's the expensive part.
So when you did all of this, I mean, were you exhausted by the end or energized to go into service?
Oh, it pushed me further and further towards going to the service. I would not be where I am today if it weren't for the Sea Cadets. Like, that's just a fact.
Profound. Yeah, that's profound. That makes it all worth it. And what do you think it is, if you were to maybe narrow it down to 2 or 3 things that really stuck with you and made you say, I'm confident that I want to go into active duty service?
So, one really major thing is I was lucky to get this opportunity, but one training that I did was for a week. Myself and 2 other cadets in my division went to tour the USS Ronald Reagan while she was in San Diego. Wow. And while we were there, we didn't just go on the Reagan, but one of the things we did is we went on the Reagan. She went out for the afternoon. We watched some flight ops, and then we came back in. And that was just like the coolest thing. Like, just thinking back, like what 16-year-old gets to do that? Like,
I mean, you're absolutely right. What 16-year-old does get to do it? It's the ones that sign up.
Right. Right. And like, and that's not the only situation that applies. Like,
yeah, so the opportunity and exposure seems like it was really invigorating. How, you already mentioned that being able to do your trainings in Sea Cadets transferred really nicely to boot camp in the Navy. What did you find, maybe some of the, being very generic, but what did you find challenging for others that you were more prepared for because of your experience?
well, I think a lot of it has to do with just the culture shock of being in boot camp. So that's honestly like the biggest thing. Like, right when you get to boot camp, like those first few days, it's like jumping into cold water. For me, it wasn't like that at all. It was like, well, I'm back.
Yeah, roger that. Got it. Yeah, in the space.
And then, of course, there's other little things here and there, like knowing the information that we have to study in boot camp, knowing facing movements. But just the biggest thing is literally just having been there and none of it being new.
Yeah, that would seem like it would be a tremendous benefit. Talk to me a little bit, actually, just touching on a point that I didn't bring up, but at least some adults may be interested to know. You do a lot of studying in Sea Cadets as well.
Correct, and that's honestly part of what pushed me to join as well, is just how much I had already known going in. before I even enlisted in the Navy, that's part of what pushed me to enlist. Is so throughout the Sea Cadets in various situations, you will have to know different things. You will have to know your general orders and various pieces of Navy knowledge, whether it be for inspections or while you're going through basic training, whether it be Elite Cadets or Sea Cadets. That stuff gets put in your head pretty early on, and it was extremely beneficial for me.
Yeah, and there's a lot of written tests as well, right? In order to rank up.
Yes, so just like with the actual Navy for advancement through your petty officer rank, so third class, second class, and first class, there's exams, and those exams cover primarily Navy knowledge. So
Now, what happens when you decide to enlist as far as your rank?
So if you were E4 or higher in the Sea Cadet, so petty officer third class or above, you enlist as an E3 in the Navy or an E2 in any other branch of service. And so that's really nice. So there's an actual benefits. It's not just boot camp will be easy for me. Like it'll actually affect your career.
Yeah, so immediately you're at a higher rank and you get a pay boost as well, correct?
Correct.
Now, for those who have, for example, children who maybe want to go to an academy, there is also, while there is not a set aside, there are special considerations for Sea Cadets at the Naval Academy, and it is taken into consideration for Air Force and Army as well. So even if you decide not to enlist but go officer route, there are benefits directly, tangibly, and quickly, which is helpful, is it not?
It is helpful. I mean, granted, this isn't the route I ended up taking, but one of the opportunities that I've had through the Sea Cadet program was I managed to get on a candidate visit weekend at the Naval Academy. So,
yeah,
and I know for a fact that anyone going there, that is extremely helpful, being able to be at the Naval Academy for a few days, see what life is like there in a very, very similar fashion to how being at RTC for a few weeks makes boot camp really easy, it turns out.
Yeah, tremendous programming. You're very lucky and wise to have attended and stuck with it for so long. Now, walk me through the transition then into service. I know you certainly are active on social media about how beneficial it's been to you, and even you and I have gone back and forth a few times over, do you go to college, do you go into the enlisted ranks, and there's benefits to both. Given your experience, and something, even as much as we go back and forth, I am very, very supportive of the belief strongly that we need to be having people attending in all different areas. College is one option, but enlisting the military is one of the best, and we often have many benefits to attend college later or even simultaneously. So walk me through a little bit, what made you decide to enlist now, and what are some of the benefits that you see, not only for yourself, but for some of those that are around you?
Okay, so something that not so many people know about me is that initially, before I enlisted in the Navy as I was growing up, the career choice that I had in mind for myself was to go into combat aviation, and eventually that developed into naval aviation. However, my eyesight has prevented me from being able to go into combat aviation. So, and at a similar time, I had taken the ASAB and I had found out about the nuke program. And due to my interest in science, proficiency in math, and also another future desire of mine to end up going to NASA, I decided that being a nuclear operator on a submarine was the best route. And I'm definitely very impressed with where my career is going to be taking me and where it has taken me already.
So I really like this because you're not exactly talking about unskilled work. This is highly academic and highly skilled.
Right. It's honestly, it's honestly one of the reasons why I like this line of work so much. Is just the education that we get through the military is just phenomenal. The thing is, the military is going to take someone who is ground zero because they have to, because not everyone comes from the same academic background going into this. Like, I took AP Calculus in high school, but the guy sitting across from me in the classroom, he may not have. He may have taken AP Government or AP Biology or whatnot. Everyone comes from a different background, so because of that, um, it's a level playing field. Everything starts from ground zero, and the Navy builds you up from there. And that's honestly great. And now I have an education that when I leave the Navy, I can take that anywhere and I can easily make six-figure one or two times over.
Yeah, I'll second your point and add to it some information I know from what we're working on in the Pentagon, or I should say what I was working on. I'm just so used to saying that. But what we're trying to get to a point is where the hands-on activities that you've been involved in. So academics are really easy to track because in our country, we understand you took a course, you get credit. But as we look at activities, hands-on activities, in theater activities, leadership activities, those are harder to quantify. And so what the Pentagon is working on is a way to quantify them so that when you transition out, you'll have essentially a similar transcript that will say, this is everything I was trained to do. This is everything I learned. And it will translate to businesses in lieu of collegiate studies. Because essentially what you're getting is extremely high levels of knowledge and experience, but also the hands-on experience to go with it, which some might say is better.
And I'm glad you mentioned transcripts, because I forgot to mention this earlier, but all the training that we get in the military for whatever job it is, it all goes onto a transcript that can be taken to colleges anywhere, and it depends depending on where you go, how many credits they'll give you, just like actually transferring between colleges. But for example, with me, I have about 77 credits.
Great.
And if I remember correctly, this is called a joint service transcript.
Yes, yes. And so it goes in your service jacket, but they're trying to take it even further because there will be a point at where either that max out or some of those will not easily transfer, and they want to make sure everything is transferred. So we have a question, and I'm going to read it to you because it's a little longer. It said, how did you find the transition from training and education in Sea Cadets to that of recruit training now in the Navy? And did you find the new tools and methods similar or different?
Okay, so I'm going to try and answer that question as best as I can here. I honestly think that the transition was seamless. Part of it has to do with my heavy involvement with social media. It is due to that, what I do now is in many ways similar to what I have done for the past 10 years. But aside from that, it's very similar so far. I mean, the stuff I've learned, like I said, the academic program for the new pipeline is very classroom based. So life, all in all, aside from now living on my own in South Carolina, has been very similar to the way it's been since I was young.
That's amazing. I mean, and what's so amazing about it is that number one, it means Sea Cadets is doing something right. And number two, if someone listening, a young person or a parent of a young person wants their child to have an experience to test it out without fully enlisting, this is a program they can connect to.
Yes, I agree.
So if you had one or two recommendations to young people that are maybe, I don't know, 3 to 4 years younger than you, somebody who's trying to find their way, trying to figure out what they want to do, what would be your recommendation?
So my recommendation would be to explore all your options with an open mind. Obviously, I can say going military is a really great career choice if you qualify for that. Like, I'm doing pretty well here. I live in South Carolina, and I'm moving to Hawaii tomorrow. So
I'm not feeling bad for you.
No, I definitely need some more pity.
Oh, not in Hawaii. No, there's no pity coming. Well, fantastic. Well, Mr. Bradley, thank you so very much for joining us. This has been tremendous. And thank you for giving another viewpoint that we don't often get to hear. And I really genuinely believe our country needs to hear from our young people right now and hear about service. You've just chosen such a tremendous career path, and I'm so pleased to see your commitment to not only the Navy and the country, but your commitment to sharing it with others to encourage them to do the same. So thank you for being a leader.
Thank you. What's an opportunity if you're not going to turn around and present it to others?
I couldn't agree more. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.